When you think about a customer that's overwhelmed, and really there's sort of a number of dimensions along which they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed with too much information, so they have to do research and discovery, and discover, lo and behold, there's more to discover than they ever anticipated. And there's more people involved in the purchase than ever before. So I've got IT and procurement and legal, and everyone's got a different opinion about what should happen, what they should buy. And I've got just too many different options to consider. It's all the different, should it be app-enabled, should it be cloud-based, should it be IT-based, should it not? So all of these different options and people and information lead customers to a place where it's very difficult across all of those different individual stakeholders to come to any kind of consensus about what they should do, let alone what they should buy. And so what's interesting from a supplier perspective, whether it's sales or marketing, the thing that we watch happening in this world is actually really interesting, is that much of what the customer is struggling with has nothing to do with you as a supplier at all. So we find companies today very focused on building world-class customer experiences where we make it easy to buy from us. But much of what's actually troubling the customer in their efforts to buy has nothing to do with you at all. So what we find is that the best suppliers in this world are actually expanding the scope of ease of buying to think well beyond making it easy to buy from us to making it easy to buy for customers, full stop. And that's actually a very different kind of perspective. Does it really sort of go beyond just educating the customer with information? And the answer is, in many ways, well, yes and no, right? So if you think about what do we need to educate the customer on, that's the question. So in some ways the answer is yes, we need to educate the customer. But traditionally when we think of educating the customer, we think of educating them on our solution, our capabilities, our products, our services. But what we're finding is that in many ways in this world where customers are overwhelmed, the thing that they need education on more than anything else is quite literally how to buy. So that they struggle just to figure out how do we come to consensus across all of these different stakeholders around what we should be doing in the first place. Is this a problem? Is this problem a priority? Is it worth solving in the first place? What's a good solution to that problem? How do we reach agreement on what that solution is? And notice none of that has anything to do with what you sell. And yet if your customers can't reach agreement on any of that, they'll never get to the point of even wondering about what you sell. So what it means is, again, we have to think very broadly about the scope around which we help our customers through that purchase process and start that help significantly earlier in that buying journey than we're traditionally set up to solve for. Marketers will tell you, we've been focused on the buying journey for the better part of 5-6 years, if not longer. In fact, you talk to any good CMO and they'll say, we've been mapping the customer buying journey for a good 2 years and we've got it all mapped out. And when you ask them, all right, so tell me about your customer buying journey map. What does it look like? And they'll say, well, it's 4 stages. We'll say, what's the 4 stages? And say, well, it's awareness, consideration, preference, and purchase. Which makes sense. That's virtually everyone's buying journey looks like that in some fashion or other. But when you stop and think about what they've really mapped, it's actually not what we're talking about here. Because if you ask, well, awareness of whom? It's awareness of us. Are they aware of who we are and how we can help? Is it consideration of whom? What's consideration of us and preference of us or purchase from us? And what we find is in many ways, that's not the customer's purchase journey, that's the customer's purchase from us journey. And the scope of that journey is far too limited because much of what your customer is struggling with in order to get to a purchase decision in the first place happens long before they ever enter into that purchase from us journey to begin with. And if we're not solving for that broader problem, we're actually not solving for the biggest hurdle in getting the customer not even to the finish line, but to the starting point.